Lead generation campaigns are great for business growth, but they are very hard to track for service-based businesses. How do you know if your digital ad campaign has resulted in any leads as a service-based business? So today I'm going to walk you through how to track leads for service-based businesses so you can determine if your campaigns are working or not. I'm really excited to share this one with you today because it's a problem that vexes not only service-based business owners, but their marketing people too. And we here at Inkyma have this all figured out.
Inkyma's Marketing Strategies is a podcast for small business owners hosted by Audrey Kirchner, co-founder and chief marketing strategist at Inkyma, helping you navigate the world of marketing so that you can market your business in the right way, see growth, and thrive regardless of the industry you're in. To learn more about Inkyma and what we do, ask a question, or schedule a marketing evaluation, go to the website inkyma.com. That's INKYMA.com. Listen to the show on your podcast player of choice, the Inkyma website, or the Inkyma YouTube channel. Just search for Inkyma Marketing Strategies and you'll find what you need.
Okay, so before I get into the episode, of course, I'm going to talk to you about housekeeping stuff. There is a lot in the show notes, so please go take a look at them. I am going to be referencing a lot of previous podcast episodes, some articles, and then I'm going to be talking a lot about tools today. And there's links for all of these tools in the show notes. And of course, the rough transcript is going to be there as well, so that you can go back and read through different parts and pieces. So we are partners with many of the products that we recommend. Not all of them on the list, but the majority, because it's what we use every day to market ourselves, to market our clients. So we're trying to give you our best in class. So if you are considering any of the tools that we're talking about today, definitely click on our links, right? We do make a small commission, and this helps us keep creating all this awesome content for you. Today is all about lead tracking for service-based businesses. This topic is big enough. There's so much in it all by itself. So I'm going to dedicate a completely separate podcast episode for lead tracking for e-commerce or product-based businesses. So hold tight, guys. We're going to talk about service first. And then a small geek out alert. Out of all the stuff we do for marketing, this is actually one of my favorite things. We do this every time we build a website, is implementing all of this lead tracking. So we are deep in the knowledge weeds on this one. So I will keep it at a high level for this episode, give you an overview of how it works and talk about the tools to use this. And then in the next couple of months, I'm actually going to be creating a whole video training series on marketing masterminds on how to actually set up these individual things I'm going to be talking about. So definitely look for that in the show notes, because by the time you're listening to this, it all may be done. And by the magic of editing, I'll actually go and have them in there in those show notes. So why is lead tracking so hard for service-based businesses? All service-based businesses have to make contact with a lead to make or finish the sale, right? So a person actually has to close the sale in a service-based industry. So I think the biggest thing that business owners and service industries do is when they think about tracking closed sales, they're talking about looking at those actual individuals or the sale itself. But what we really want to track are the contact points. And so contact points are really your calls to actions on your website, your social pages, any outbound campaign. Let's talk about what those are, right? So first and foremost, on your website or any landing pages you have created, it's your contact form. Newsletter signup, same thing, right? It's a secondary type of lead. They're interested in your business. Maybe they're not ready to have a conversation with you yet, but they want to stay connected. I think of that as a really good secondary lead. Chatbots, if you have a chatbot on your site or anywhere else, like Facebook Messenger, I consider a chatbot. Phone calls. If they pick up the phone to call the business, that is absolutely a lead. And then appointment scheduling systems or reservation scheduling systems. Because don't forget, restaurants, they're service-based businesses. In order to actually get that check to close, there are a lot of things that have to happen from the time that they either step in the door or make the reservation in order for you to close that lead. So with the right tools, all of these can be tracked and reported on and pulled into your CRM system. So really, it's all about the tools and the setup. So now let's talk a little bit about where you're going to track your leads from. Simple answer is every single campaign on every single one of your designated marketing assets. So let's talk about what those are. Websites, landing pages, right? Those are going to be like your number one for everything because everything like funnels back to the website. Outbound emails, sales funnels, welcome emails, newsletters. If you listen to episodes 19 and or 46, I talk about sales funnels and welcome emails. So definitely go take a listen to that if you haven't, about getting those set up and using those for campaigning. Your social media channels. Some you can just put your website link. Others are much more sophisticated like Facebook and or LinkedIn, or you can put in calendar links, a link to a contact form, a link to your telephone number. For your page, Facebook gives you a lot of options. And then, of course, there's always Facebook Messenger. And then your Google My Business listing. Google tracks and allows you to put a lot of things in there to allow people to reach out and contact you. Telephone numbers, you can actually put your calendar scheduling link in there. If they click on your website, it's tracked. So Google My Business is a really, really great place. And then, of course, don't forget your digital ads. And then any type of print ads or print mailers or materials that you have out there for lead generation. Okay, so now let's get into the meat of this, where we're going to spend most of our time, and how we're going to track these different contact points on your different campaigns and places where you have them. And the tools. I'm going to give you all the tool recommendations that you can use to actually set these up. But before we get into those, let's talk about the landing place. Like, where's all this going to go? Like, it's all great and wonderful that you're tracking all this stuff, but where are you going to look at it at? So there's two places, right? You're going to have a data report and maybe a CRM system. The reason I say maybe is that some businesses just don't lend themselves to CRMs, which is contact relationship management systems, because their sales cycles are so short. So a good example of this would be a restaurant. If you've got people coming and going, maybe having a CRM system isn't right for you. They come in, they pay the check, they leave. But you definitely want to have a data report. Whereas if you are a plumber or a general contractor, everybody that contacts you, you want to put into a CRM system, because you may do a bathroom for them one day and they may reach back out to you to do an addition, and you want the notes and the information from the first time you service them, especially if it's a year or 2 years later. So for data reporting, which is for everybody who's listening here, you can try configuring Google Analytics, right? It's going to collect all that website data. They've recently added Search Console where you can pull that search data in, but it's hard to set up, a little difficult to review, not insurmountable, but you can't pull in extras. Like, you can't pull in your Google My Business data. If you're doing mailings, you can't pull all that mailing data into that report and see it all together. So what we recommend for data reporting is using Google Data Studio, which is another free Google product, and then pulling your analytics, your mailing data, all that other stuff into that report using a data aggregator. There's a lot out there, but the one that we like the most is Supermetrics. Basically, what they do is they give you all these different data feeds. You pick the ones that you're using, and you pull them into the Google Data Studio report, and all of it's displayed right there. So your analytics data can sit right next to your Google My Business data, which can sit right next to your digital ads and your email information. Pretty cool. To learn more about this, listen to episode 48, where I talk about data collection and a little bit more about Supermetrics and its superpowers, because it's pretty freaking cool. So if you want to use a CRM system, this is where the leads are going to get sent to. So if Jane Doe reaches out and makes a telephone call, you can actually get Jane's data put into a system where it's collected and stored, and you can add notes to it whether you want it or you didn't. So this is really important if you have long lead cycles or repeat business where you need to keep track of everybody. If you don't have a CRM system, we like Fresh Sales. It's a pretty simple, cost-effective CRM system, and it has a lot of add-ons that you can add over time, so it will grow and change with you. It's really great for small businesses, but there are a ton out there. As far as integration goes, a lot of the big ones will integrate directly with your website and all these other things. But even if you use something like a Fresh Sales or something else that you already have that you love, you can probably get the integrations to work with Zapier, which is a connector system, or Make, just a competitor of Zapier. They both work really well. And Zapier has all the connection links. There's not a lot out there that they don't have. And if they don't have it, Make probably does. So that's how you're going to get that data from wherever its source is, its connection source, which is what we're going to talk about, and into your CRM system. Okay, so now that we have where all of this is going to go, let's talk about what it is and how we're going to get it there. So I want to start with contact forms and newsletter signups from your website and or your landing pages. So you should be using contact forms on your website and landing pages and not putting your email address on the site. There's two reasons for this. Number one, it reduces the amount of spam that you're going to get to that inbox because they're not scraping and grabbing your email address and then putting it out wherever for others to grab it and email you nonsense as well. The form actually will cut down on the bots. And then at least if someone's going to be willing to spam you through your contact form and fill it out, you're making them work for it. The other thing I like about that is that once they fill out a contact form and hit submit, it can be saved, it can be stored, and it can be tracked. And so what we like to use for this is, again, you can set this up directly in Google Analytics, but we like to use Google Tag Manager for all of this tracking on the website. It's easier to actually set up than in Google Analytics. It's a little more intuitive. It's definitely not code-based. And not only can you set this up, but everything else we're going to be talking about today, you can set up using Google Tag Manager where you wouldn't be able to directly with Google Analytics. I think what happened is Google realized that they needed something more than Google Analytics. So they've built these other ancillary services like Google Data Studio, like Google Tag Manager, so that you can get a better look and feel for all of this. And again, it's all free. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is that anytime someone does fill out that contact form, goes to the report, and you send it to the CRM system via either Zapier or a direct link from within your website. Now, if you're going to be using landing pages on your website, make sure that if you use separate contact forms, that you're setting up Google Tag Manager to collect both of them independently because they are separate, because you don't want to miss any of the submissions, especially if you're running a campaign. So what we like to do is we actually use WordPress with Elementor Pro, and then we set up contacts forms with FormVibe. And you can have as many contact forms for the site as you want, and they can ask different information. So here's an example of why you would do that. So let's say you're a plumber and you offer all kinds of plumbing services. So on your website's main area, you're going to have a single contact form for general contact outreach. But let's say you want to run a water heater replacement promotion where you're offering a certain amount off or something back. You can create a landing page that talks about the offer and then a specific contact form so you can track all of those separately and then ask different questions. You could ask things like obviously name, address, telephone number, but maybe age of your water heater brand, or are you looking to get something that's more efficient? Versus you wouldn't be asking that on your main contact. And then for newsletter sign up, it's pretty much the same. It's a different type of form on your website. But instead of sending it to your CRM system as an official lead that needs to be reached out to, you send it to your mailing system, your email system. And depending on the campaigns that you have set up, you send them to a sales funnel, they get a welcome series, they get dumped right into your newsletter. And then when they make some type of overture there, to fill out a lead form or to call you, then they can get pulled into your CRM system so that you don't have people that are not ready to be contacted yet sitting in your CRM system. And so we like to use Mailchimp and or Constant Contact. Both of these will directly integrate with FormVibe and WordPress. You don't need Zapier for that, for sure. All right, so now let's move on and talk about chatbots. These are similar to contact forms, but they just do more things and they're a little bit more elegant about how they do it because they allow the user to interact and they're very conversational. But you can have them fill out a contact form that way. They can schedule a meeting. They can request a telephone callback, sign up for the newsletter, give special offers. So definitely check out episode 55 where I talk about chatbots in more detail. And so the data that is collected, because every time someone has an interaction, that data is collected by the chatbot, regardless of what it is. And that can actually be pulled in to your reporting via Zapier. And then if we like to use Tidio chatbot for websites And so that will actually integrate directly with a lot of CRM systems. So meaning if they say, hey, yeah, I do want someone to reach out and contact me, it can get pulled into the CRM system as well as logged as an event. All right, so let's move on to phone calls. This one's actually one of my favorites because part of it's tricky and it's a little elusive, but we've figured it out. So this is tracking someone when they call you. So let's say you're running an ad that has your telephone number in it. Maybe social media is there. Phone calls for some businesses are their lifeblood, right? They live and die by those phone calls. So the most simplest way to do this is you can actually track click to calls wherever that telephone number is linked. Websites, social media pages, emails, you can actually set it up where your emails, if they're looking at it, they can actually click on the telephone number and actually call you. And this data can be pulled into your reports as an event, but this is where that's only giving you part of the story, right? Because it doesn't tell you anything about the person, when they called, or anything like that. Like you can pull it down to the day in your reporting, but not the time of day. And it's just that they clicked, not that they actually talked to someone, left a message, gave you information. And then it doesn't track when someone calls you the old-fashioned way, where they actually put your number in and dial it, which could happen, especially if they've got print materials or something like that. So if you want to get full, robust phone tracking, you actually have to start the tracking process at the other end, at the answering end. So what you need to use is an answering and tracking service tool like Grasshopper. And what Grasshopper offers is they'll answer your phone. You can do the automated message, or they actually have an add-on service to the regular monthly maintenance fee of virtual receptionist, where someone actually picks up the phone and talks to the person that's there. Regardless of which way you choose, if Grasshopper's answering your calls, all of the calls are tracked, date, time stamped, telephone number. If they leave a message, if they talk to a person, all of that is transcribed. And if you have a person, you can give them a script. Would you like someone to call you? I need this information. So there's a ton of other cool features. I'm going to be doing a whole episode about Grasshopper within the next couple of months as well. And so because it's tracked and because it's in this online system, it can get integrated into your reports as well as your CRM system. So if Jane Doe calls and speaks to a virtual assistant and gives her contact information, we can have that show up as a phone event on the report, as well as Jane Doe can then be pulled into your CRM system with the message of whatever needs to happen next. Grasshopper will integrate with some of the major CRM systems, but again, if it doesn't integrate with yours, there's always Zapier to help you out. So that one is pretty cool. Now let's talk about appointment scheduling systems. So if you use an appointment scheduling system to get people to schedule appointments with you, like Calendly or Motion, those are provided via links. And like I said earlier, if it has a link, it can be tracked. And so when they click on the link, that event can be added to your report. And then Calendly, I definitely know, has an integration where if the person fills it out and schedules with you, that scheduled information can then be imported into your CRM system. And if you're using something else like Motion, which I think does it too, but Motion is new on our list of review. We're actually in testing mode with Motion to see if we like it better than Calendly. Because sometimes these up-and-comers take over the industry because they're just better tools. So we're always constantly looking to upgrade. So I'll let you know about Motion when we know more. But either way, they'll all integrate with your CRM system with Zapier for sure. And then digital ads, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them because basically a digital ad is going to push them to one of these other contact points. Your telephone number, your scheduling system, your landing page on your website that should have a chatbot or a contact form or something on it. And so that would be tracked there. The only extra thing that you're going to do with digital ads, Facebook will do it and Google Ads will do it, where you can actually set up certain codes that log something as a conversion, right? So in there, they don't call them leads, they call them conversions because it's very e-commerce centric. But I've set up ads where if they click on that link for the telephone call, that logs it as a conversion. If they fill out the contact form, that logs it as a conversion. And then when I pull it into the report, we use our lead language. And you can even see that if an ad generates 5 conversions, we actually pull the data in and say, okay, 3 of those were telephone calls and 2 of them were contact forms, or they were clicking on the link. So we can actually break all that data down by what it actually is, which is pretty cool. print materials, the big thing here is you're going to want to use a QR code if you're going to send them off digitally somewhere. We've got the telephone number taken care of if you're using the answering system, but if you want them to get from the postcard or the print piece to the website to a specific landing pages, that's where you're going to use a QR code. Listen to episode 10 where I talk about how cool QR codes are and how useful they are to learn more. Okay, so that was a lot of information and you got to do something next. Now that you have it, you're like, this is cool. I want to do this. We got to talk about what you're going to do next. So let's talk about taking some action, right? Information's only as good as what you do with it. So the first thing I want you to do is if you don't have a CRM system, you want a CRM system, set up a CRM system and set up your report. Decide, am I going to use native Google Analytics or am I going to set up Google Data Studio with Google Tag Manager and then pull that data in with Supermetrics, right? Decide that, get that set up first. And like I said, with CRM, if you're on the fence on what to use, we do recommend Fresh Sales, right? Their base program is great if you're just starting out. And then when you're ready to get a little bit more sophisticated, you can add on other modules that they have. So then once you have that in place and you have a handle on what you're going to track, my website data, my Google Analytics, my business data, too many Googles in this one, my email, my search console, get that all laid out, see what it looks like right now. And then you can start setting up one lead tracking path, a specific contact point. The one you want to choose first is actually the one where you know or you perceive you're getting the majority of your leads from, right? If you're a real estate agent, probably tracking telephone numbers is going to be number one out there. You're getting phone calls all the time, especially if you're running campaigns where they're pushing people to call you. If you're a coach and your number one way is that they click on your scheduling link from wherever you have it and they're scheduling time with you all the time, then that's the one that you're going to implement first. And then find the tools, set the tools up, and then make sure you test it too. If you're using something like Google Tag Manager, make sure you test everything. You call, you fill out the form, have someone call, have someone fill out the form, and follow it all the way down to the end and make sure it shows up on your report and it shows up in your CRM system. Then once you do that, pick the next highest volume, right? Maybe for you, the second one is telephone numbers, whatever's next until you're through all of them. The newsletter signups might be last because you only get one or two of those a month, but they're important because those folks may be taking another path to actually contact with you. And that's how you're going to get all of this done. You're going to get the most impactful data first, but it all gets done over time. So here are my final thoughts for you on this one, right? This is advanced level stuff. If you take a look at the show notes, I'm linking out to so much different stuff because I've talked about other stuff that impacts this greatly. So me, I love this. I can do this all day long, set all these up, but you, maybe not so much. So if your head's spinning a little bit and you're like, gosh, I really want to do this, but I don't know what to do. I don't want to do this myself. Please reach out to me to talk about this. And no, I did say me. Right? If you listen to other episodes, I tell you to hire a professional. I tell you to get educated. Some of these topics that I go over, there are other people out there that are also subject matter experts, and maybe they're right down the street from you. But in this case, there's a lot of people in marketing that actually don't know how to do all of this or don't understand this whole process. It's kind of like once they put it out there, they expect you, the business owner, to figure out how to track your leads. And they may actually do some of it. They may set the telephone number up to click to call, but they don't know how to set up a report for you. And so let's have that conversation together, because if it's something that you're really interested in, we can take you from all of your contact points to having them into a report and pushing to your CRM system completely. And we'll do it at whatever level that you want and are most comfortable with. So here at Inkyma, we love to give back to the business community, and we are doing it in so many different ways. You can reach out to me from the website and schedule a 45-minute free marketing consultation where we can talk about this, or maybe your website, or we can talk about search engine optimization. Whatever you want to talk about, that 45 minutes is yours. Just go to Inkyma.com, INKYMA.com, and click on the schedule a marketing evaluation. You're going to get my Calendly link, and you pick your date, you pick your time, and we are on together. I also have a contact form. Fill that out if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion for a show. I love suggestions for shows. Those are so cool. We have the educational blog, Marketing Masterminds. There are articles, there are videos on how to and DIY and understanding concepts in marketing that maybe you've never thought of. And we also have a chatbot there that you can interact with, which is pretty cool. So hopefully you found this information informative and helpful. If you did and you know other business owners that you think this could help as well, please share this, right? The purpose of this is to help grow the entire business community. And so I do my very best to get this out to as many people as possible, but I need your help. I need you to share this as well. So I hope you found it enlightening. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day.